Welcome guys to the OXM Trophy Tour. This is my trophy room slash beat studio slash workout room slash podcast.
Watch this.
Nice shot. All right, let's get to looking. Hey guys, welcome to the garage slash OXM podcast studio. The first deer on the trophy tour is this one. It kind of started everything. Jesse had video and some pictures of him the year before, and he was quite a bit bigger. And then the following year I shot him. He went downhill. And then the year after that, this one was on video in 2006. And then the year after that, 2007, I shot that guy, and actually Jesse ended up finishing that. That hunt was kind of rainy and crappy out, and we had really high winds. I hit him back and high, and then the next day we jumped him, and well, there he is. Jump into the next one real quick. We'll get to the bigger ones, but this is one of the first big deer I shot down by Pella during shotgun season. And my dad went home sick, and the guys took me out and sat me down on a deer drive, which we do that a lot here in Iowa. And that deer came up along the creek, and I shot him at like 20 yards. And I shot all 5 shells, and he went to run and he fell, and his antlers actually fell off. And the guys came up and said, "Hey Greg, where's his antlers?" And I said, "They're right here." And Scott Rolfe put them back on. But the deer actually has a mane on his neck, which is really cool. So that was my first big one before these two. Jumping over to the next one, tall brow buck. Shot that down in the Winterset area, and I was walking back one night really early because the cows were in my hunt, and he was between me and the truck, and I shot him, and he went like 40 yards. And that was with the bow. So in 2013, this deer right here, my buddy Austin had pictures of him. I called him Captain Hook, and Austin videotaped me shooting him not too far away from here. But it was kind of, I moved into this job, which we were living down in St. Charles, moved up here, first year here, a guy at Facebook messaged me. We're still good friends to this day, but this deer showed up, and we got some really cool footage of him. I think he scored 157, and Austin called him Captain Hook. That video is really cool. Jumping to the next one. This deer probably means the most out of every deer. The story goes, this is the year I was hunting Newt when he was at his biggest, and the ups and downs that year, I hunted like 100 times, and my wife was pregnant with our son Jace, and he was in the NICU for like a week and a half, 2 weeks, something like that. And on the day we brought him home, Jen said I could go hunt. So I went and sat in the neighbor's wagon blind, and this deer came by, and I shot him. I had no pictures of him. I had cell cams out, and I think the shotgun hunters pushed him in there. So that was late season, and that was a cool story. All right, we're getting a little bit bigger, guys. This deer I shot down in Winterset too. It was a November 7th evening sit. I was hunting with my buddy Don, and I noticed this deer the day before I shot him. I was in a blind, and he came through this little grove, and I sat up there the next night and shot him. He went 165, and some of my friends had pictures of him a couple miles away, so they were hunting the same deer. But they are getting a little bit bigger. It's a cool mount, and some cedar in his bases. And we'll jump to the other deer, but this is my computer setup. You can see the controller. I do like to drop into Warzone every now and again, so I also do work on here. It's a gaming PC, and yeah, this is kind of my area to chill out and unwind after a long day. All right, guys, we're making it short and sweet. We're getting into the deer with maybe some more history. A lot of these deer are shot on land that I just got permission on, besides one of them, which I'll show you, that I leased the property and put food plots particularly for that deer. So I want to thank all the landowners that allowed me access and the people along the way that had some history and helped me harvest these deer. So this is JT. This would have been 2014, I believe. And my buddy Adam actually found a shed when he was doe hunting to this deer, and I found I got like 2 or 3 sheds off him, but just an old deer. Not real big, but he's really, really neat looking, how his beams kind of curl down and splits. And I think public land hunter actually pushed him across the road back to where I was hunting. And the video of this one's pretty cool with the luminok going right through him. And my buddy's coming out to help me search for him. And buddies came and helped me search for this deer, and he didn't go very far, but I probably could have watched him fall. I was just too excited when it all happened, so that hunt was pretty fun. So this one we called Mike Honcho. I believe it was 2014. He ended up going 178, and I shot him early muzzleloader. It was the first year we got our smokeless muzzleloaders from Hollis, and I dropped him in his tracks at 200 yards. I had pictures of him in the summer and the year before. I think he was 5 when I shot him, but just a really cool deer. We all celebrated that night after we shot him. That's probably one of the coolest things, all the guys over in the garage looking at the deer. I think quite a few people seen him from the road when they're out scouting during the summer, and just one of my bigger deer that I've shot. This guy, Jesse and I entered the Hunt Quest tournament in 2020, I believe, and had a buddy hunting with me. He drew an Iowa tag, and I put him in the stand where this deer was living. And the deer came out, walked back through behind an oak tree, and a different deer popped out and shot it. And then a couple nights later, I went out and I harvested him. He was at 178 as well, and I believe we got 4th place. Fifth place in the Hunt Quest tournament that year, which was really fun to enter, and we had a whole table from Iowa guys, and it was a great time. So this deer was running around with a bigger deer, the River Bandit. I found a set of sheds to him. We'll go over that deer here in a second. But so it wasn't the deer I was hunting, it's just the deer that showed up, and it was hard to pass, so I shot him. I didn't pass him. So same year, 2020, early muzzleloader, I had this guy patterned to a T, and he ended up going 167. He's one of the more impressive deer because he's really wide and splayed out, and I have some really cool trail cam pictures of him. Just a neat deer. He's mature, old, got a set of sheds to him, had summer picks from 2 years in a row, 2019 and 2020. And just a really neat deer. All right, the year after that, 2021, I ended up leasing the farm I shot that deer on, and I put food plots in. I did everything to try to harvest this deer. In the first cold front of October, I was sitting in a muddy hay bale blind over a food plot, and he hit this hemp rope right here, which actually came from Jesse's girls' swing or gym they had in their basement. So probably out of all deer, even Newt, I had the most history with him, and he blew up at age, I think he's 8, and I have all the sheds except one. Digging through here, he stayed pretty much similar every year. I don't know which to what, but these are all his sheds, and I have a lot of cool history with him, seeing him running around on the road, and he just, I would say out of all of the ones that I started shooting, the bigger ones, I think I got the luckiest on him, just because he was coming from the cornfield, going across the river, and I was never going to probably see him again. So this one definitely is probably one of the highest one up there as far as sentimental value. And I have them on a dual mount, shoulder mount from Skull Hooker. And it's kind of neat because you can move them around. This deer's antlers in the way, but they kind of pivot, so you can kind of put them exactly how you want. But yeah, that was a cool deer. We did a stealth cam stories with him, so there's more detail in that. But he was right at 170 or 171, I believe. 2021. This one was kind of a slam dunk hunt. I had a spot to sneak into on the river bottom, and I told my coworkers, Jesse and my wife, this deer's gonna get shot tonight. And I just had a couple pics of him going in, hitting a scrape, a mock scrape that I made with the hemp rope, and he came out an hour before dark and dogging some does. And this is another permission farm. And he went 170 on the nose. So jumping back to 2018, this is our emblem for OXM. And this deer I put a lot of hours in. And from the start when I moved here, my friends called this deer Newt for New 10. And this was the first shed he found, my buddy found in his food plot. And the other shed, the neighbor's dog chewed up. So we've technically found them all. It's kind of cool. I'm just going to show you how the sheds were found. I found this one. No, the neighbor landowner found this one. I found this one doing a controlled burn with Andy. I think Josh Coughlin found this one. These two right here. Come over here. Jeff, the farmer, found these after. Don't drop those, buddy. After he harvested the beans, so Eric Klein's father-in-law fixed them and I actually dropped them. But so that was his 4-year-old set. His 5-year-old set are these, so mass. And then his 6-year-old set is when I missed him. Jason, hold those up. He's got a bum knee, so that's when I missed him 3 times and had the encounter with Adam in the tree stand. I sat, I don't remember, 80 some sits for him, and ended up taking him early muzzleloader. So he was probably close to 198-ish there, and I took him early muzzleloader the year after. I missed him, obviously, and that video is pretty cool. It happened really fast. I went and got pictures of him. I trail cam pics the day before, and went and got my tag, and my buddy Morgan filmed me shoot him, and it was, hey, there he is, pull up and shoot. So that was a really fast hunt. But he was 181, I think, here. And then 7 days later, I think 7 or 8 days later, I went out on a whim, hunted the wrong stand, and till last year, this was my biggest deer, score-wise. It was at 186, 185. And I hunted the wrong wind, sprayed down with buck mom. The one was going right to him. We got up out of his bedding area, walked through the beans, walked right to me. I pulled out my phone and started videotaping him run away in the beans. So that deer was, I had pictures of him. I was just putting out a cell cam because I only had like 2 at the time, and kind of danced around. But when I pulled the card out of the camera, I climbed up the tree and I sent a text to my wife. I said, hey, what should we name him? She said, she named him Cowboy. He's got all the points and put a bunch of cowboy racks on his tine. So that was my best year. That was 2018. I killed a 186 and a 182. So that's gonna be tough to beat that. So this is last year's deer. This was one that I had pictures of for the last couple of years, and he'd always disappear, and I didn't know where he went. And last year I was golfing at the 5x80 and golfing with my buddy, and this deer came in front of the trail cameras, and I about fell out of the golf cart. He was the biggest deer that I've hunted, and you can't really tell for the mount, but he ended up going 196, I believe, Buckmasters, and then Boone and Crockett gross was 193, I I think. So that's by far my biggest deer. He's really neat. He's got inside tine right here, and then everything curls. So I named him TW. He just made his laps around the town, and I think I could have killed him October 1st, where I could hunt, but some kids went in there and started doing what kids do. They're building some kind of structure like teepee, and they pushed him out of there, and I had a camera on the other side of town, and he walked by multiple times. Jason and I tried hunting him, I think 3 or 4 times, and Jen came home during early muzzleloader, and he came out, and I dropped him right in his tracks. So that's gonna be a hard one to top. 196. He's got a kicker over here too that I'm not sure if you can see, but he's got a lot of points. And the sheds from the year before, so 2022, he has pretty much the same amount of junk. And I don't know where those sheds went, but I searched hard, and all my buddies have searched hard too. So they're probably still laying out there. Excuse me, laying out there in the middle of the field somewhere. But that's my biggest deer. We're getting into last year. My wife and I purchased a farm, and my goal was to harvest my very first deer off of it. And this is him. He showed up on the fence gate camera, and Jason and I snuck into the blind, and I shot him at 54 yards, 57 yards, and the beast broadhead did some damage. And I contacted my buddy Dylan, TK Custom Taxidermy. He's gonna actually get him mounted. So he is going on the wall. He's not on the wall yet, but that was 2023 landowner archery kill. 154. Another permission farm buck from 2023. This is my statewide tag. And my buddy Josh, who shared all the newt history with me, and kind of wrote that story. He had pictures of this deer early in velvet, and we thought he was going to go 170. Looking back, probably should give him another year, but he's 154, I think, 153. Just a solid deer. Very fortunate to hunt some of the farms that I do, and there's a bigger one running around this year, so same farm. So this guy up here was a early muzzleloader public land deer that Jesse and I set up on a spot, just on a whim. We rode some bikes in on a bean field, which was a bad idea. Ditched the bikes, ended up walking, set up a tree stand, and we seen him come out. So the next night I went in solo, sat on the ground. He came out like 30 yards away, and I popped him with my muzzleloader. So one of the bigger public land deer that I've shot. Okay. This is a river bandit. The year I was hunting him, I would come home, my cameras would go off, and he would be right by my stand. So I should have sat 11-2 on those days, but I did not, and I learned my lesson. The following year, Jesse videotaped him he was in my tree stand, and the deer went on the road, and I don't know if he was 180 or 190, but he was large, and then he disappeared. So I don't know whatever happened to him. Still solid deer, just disappeared, and no idea. And last but not least, this is a trophy tour. This is kind of my cool little, I won the state Pee Wee when I was 11, so back in 1998, and I got my trophies here, so it's fitting for the trophy room tour. The last but not least is Houdini, and he was 184-inch mainframe 10. I had some really cool video of him coming down through the creek on trail camera, and then he disappeared. So we actually found this deer. Jen shot a nice buck, and we were blood trailing the buck, and Jen went down through the creek, and I went around, and she hollered, "Hey, I found a dead one." And it was him. He died of EHT, which we've been having a lot of problems, mostly down in southern Iowa. But This is my trophy room. It's also my garage, so I appreciate you guys watching. We're gonna have more of these coming up. We're gonna do Jesse's next. We already had one of those, one of our team members, Aaron Gropner, do his. And we appreciate you guys watching, and until the next one.